The inspiration to do a graffiti Central American movie was not like one day I woke up and say, I'm gonna do a Central American graffiti movie. But instead it was like I started documenting the first people who started doing graffiti in Costa Rica back in the 90s. So I kept filming over the years with the idea to like have the history of the movement since day one, since I was lucky enough to be there at the beginning. So in the process, we connected in the Guatemala festivals, like with the rest of Central America, which was huge for me because we're like small countries that we all like cousins, but we didn't know much of each other. So like I realized the movement was young and similar, like in the whole area, and we was like in the same stages, more or less. So I changed the documentary from being only Costa Rica to be a Central American movie. So it wasn't like, it was a inspiration that it was on stages, but like organically, gradually, it happened like that. The process was a difficult and long one, basically because for all the filming, I had no support, no budget, no equipment, no crew, no anything. So like, when I began doing this, I was almost a teenager with a little camera. So I was starting to study video production, so I was starting to like know concepts and stuff, which helped me a lot. But it was guerrilla filming all the way. One of the challenges was to film a documentary which is in like 6 different countries. These countries that are dangerous, traveling with no budget, no crew. It was only me filming, doing sound, doing directing, asking the questions. I had like nobody helping me through all that process. Later on, when it was post-production time, I had so much footage from so many years that I decided I needed like to have a little crew. And like I met Laura, and she became the producer, and like she helped me get some funds, and then we hired a little crew, so we got like budget to make some beats, some music, paid some of the beat makers that was helping us. A friend who's a drawer, he made like some illustrations that's in the movie too. So we end up having a better quality to make up that I was filming alone. So it's not the same. You make mistakes, the sound is not gonna be perfect, etc. So like I needed to do that in order to balance it out later on. But all the years that I was filming, it was difficult because I had to travel with no equipment, no money, like all these countries in Central America. And what we was doing is that using the festivals that the people was doing in all the countries, and they invite you to go DJ. So we were staying in friends' houses. They helped me come and find the people, do all the research, like who was the first, but all the people who we had to find was difficult too, because like graffiti artists is not easy to find. And all the help from the movement and all the friends that helped us do this, but without them we couldn't have done it. It's important for so many reasons. One of them is that underground not really documented an official story. Come on, you don't see that like newspapers or like in the TV, like other stuff, come on, like that gets really documented in history. So it's only like sometimes graffiti artists stop painting after many years, and then they get the art gets erased, and it's just like people telling the stories, and after a few generations they get forgotten. So like when we have to tell our own stories, because then the media is gonna tell it different, or it's not gonna be even recorded at all. And all specifically on the Central American movement, we're like invisible for the world. Even like in all Latin American culture, like we like really small countries with no industry, like no in entertainment industry, or like you don't get to know many artists from Central America. Like we competing with huge countries like Mexico, Brazil, Colombia, Argentina, like they have millions of people, and we're like always been invisible. People only know Central America because of like war or gangs or like drug cartels or stuff like that, and they don't really know our stories. So it was important for us and for the rest of the world to let them know, hey, this is Central America. We have hip hop, we have artists, we have culture, we're rich in culture, in history. So it's important like to start telling our own stories. I recommend everybody who's doing things to document, tell the story with that. I was a kid in the 80s, and my mom had a big record collection. Not so big, but it was very everything, a little bit of everything, like soul music, Latin music, rock music, jazz, like classic music. So I was always into music as a kid, listening to my mom records. Later on, when I discovered like my own music, I started playing guitar, playing in rock bands, punk bands, all of that, when I was a kid. And then later on, we started getting into skateboarding and like all the street culture, but there wasn't a hip hop movement in Costa Rica. And like I love graffiti and I love breakdancing, but I didn't relate it as a whole, as a one thing with the rap music. At the beginning, rap music that you could hear in Costa Rica was very like only super commercial stuff. And we started discovering music in the skate videos. But before that, somebody gave me as a kid a Public Enemy tape, and I was deep into blues music and all of that. So like, and I knew a lot of history because living in Central America with the war going in the 80s and all of that. My mom worked in refugee camps in Salvador, Honduras during the war. So all of that imagery of the Malcolm X, I couldn't understand the lyrics, but I knew what they were talking about. All the struggle, ¿verdad, with the black people, the racism and all of that. So I started getting into it, but it was like until the like 90s, like 93, something like that. We started like skating a lot and we started digging for music in skate videos, and we started listening to Wu-Tang and like Snoop, Big Old Planet, all of that gangsta, and then it got me more attracted, and then I started like learning more about DJing, scratching, and I started trying to become a DJ. It took me like 10 years to get turntables and all of that because you get no information. There was nobody in Costa Rica who scratching and doing all of that, so you had to learn from the little things that you would see in TV or info that you would get in a magazine. So I started later on becoming a DJ and also doing videos. I did a little tagging or sometimes freestyle, but like really like the one element that I practice is DJing. I want to give out a special thanks to the Seattle Hip Hop Film Festival. Thank you everybody who came to see the film. Pura vida, King Kasam, all the friends, the hip hop culture. Peace, pura vida. Good night.